Hello, I'm Phoebe. Welcome to the Dragonthorn Art channel. Today we're doing another sketchbook tour. So this is my sketchbook for Inktober 52 from 2020, which I believe is the first year they did it. So this was like a new thing. So they did if you're familiar with the challenge now, they do a prompt every week, normally released on a Thursday or Friday, and you get to post it, and it's like Inktober but with less pressure. So I thought I'd show you what I did for the 2020 prompts. So for this book, I don't do this for all of them, but I wrote the prompts down in the front and did I think I traced this from the actual logo. But you can see the first prompt was flight. This turned out not as good as I hoped it would. I guess I had too big of expectations of what it could be, and just kind of went a bit too mental with all the things I wanted to do for the prompt, and it didn't end up looking great, but I did some art that week, so I can't complain. Week 2, Shadow. So this is Tokoyami from My Hero Academia, which is my favourite manga and anime of all time. I mean, other animes have come close, but it was the first one I read and watched, so it's got to be up there. Really pleased with how this turned out. Was at the time, still am now. So this is his quirk, which is like a superpower if you're not familiar with it, with My Hero. His superpower quirk is called Dark Shadow. So he has this sort of bird shadow creature that sort of comes from within him that he can control it most of the time, but he finds it more difficult to control in the dark. But I knew I wanted to draw him when I saw the prompt, so I'm really pleased with how it turned out. Week 3 was brick. I tried to do some sort of geometric thing with the actual brick, and I think I was using Winsor & Newton drawing inks at the time. And I wasn't exactly familiar with them, and this paper's probably not the best for this type of thing. I think this is a Pink Pig sketchbook. This was before I started recording what books there were, but I believe this was a Pink Pig one. And it wasn't designed for as much ink as I used to try and make this work. But yeah, it exists. It's another one, it exists. Week 4, Snake. So I'd recently got into Harry Potter. So while everybody got into Harry Potter at the age of 8, I was 18 when I got into it, and I really enjoyed it until I found out about J.K. Rowling. So I decided I wanted to do the Dark Mark, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. So I did like a sort of abstracty background that was sort of green with sort of a yellowy green, and I was really pleased with how the snake head turned out. Week 5, Balloon. This is Baymax from Big Hero 6, you might be familiar. And there's one bit in the film where he goes, "Here, have a lollipop." I'm so pleased with how this lollipop turned out. Like, Baymax is pretty simple to draw, in fairness, apart from his hand, which even now I struggle with hands. But the lolly wrapper, I was so pleased with how it turned out, and that, like, the little sort of shines that I managed to do, and I was really pleased with this, and still am. It's another one I'm still pleased with it. Week 6, Hammer. I think this was before I really got into like Norse mythology and stuff. But this was a drawing that I found, which was someone's interpretation of Thor's hammer. And you can see I sort of did some of the runes that were on it, but at the time I didn't understand the runes. So these are more like Icelandic stave runes that were sort of obviously meant to convey the power that's within the weapon. Like I say, I didn't really understand the purpose of each of the sort of components at the time. But now that I can appreciate it, I think I'd do this slightly differently. But I'm still really pleased with how it turned out, actually. Even though I know now that I didn't know what the significance was. This piece is probably more significant to me now than it was then. Week 7 was Dinner, and I immediately thought of the Emperor's New Groove when Yzma goes, it's dinner time, when she decides she's going to poison Cusco, but ends up turning him into a llama. I didn't quite get the right colour ink for his face, but I'm still really pleased with how it turned out. And I think I got this colour, which is sort of meant to be a sort of Yzma purple. I'm really pleased with how that turned out and the drippy effect. And the actual shape of Cusco, I think I got pretty good. But like I say, it's just this colour that I just couldn't get right. I was very new to using the drawing inks at this time. So I was still learning the ropes while drawing this. So I'm still very pleased with how it turned out. Week 8, spider. I don't like spiders. I do quite like their webs though. So I decided I was going to do a spider web. And I like I see in this one, I like writing the prompt on the page. So I decided to incorporate it into the web itself to, be a bit more creative. Week 9 was wave. So I had this idea to do, because X-rays are waves. Like, they're sort of like, I can't think of the word, but the X-ray waves that sort of examine the bones within your hand, or wherever. And I had the funny idea to do an X-ray of a hand like it's waving. I'm still really impressed with this. The sort of proportions and stuff I think I've got pretty accurate, and I know I didn't trace this. Like, I can see some of the pencil. I don't know whether you can see it on camera, but there's some pencil lines here that you can see. I've sort of tried to get the proportions correct, and I think I did pretty good. Week 10, Elf. This is another anime that I really love. So this is Black Clover, and this is Yuno. This is when he first gets turned into an elf, when the elf sort of side to first takes over. So there's this big arc about these elves inhabiting the bodies of, I don't know if that's the right word, but they sort of take over some of the Clover Kingdom's soldiers for a time. And it's such a good anime. It's up there with My Hero Academia as one of my favourites. And yeah, I'm still quite pleased with how it turned out, though. I would have done it differently. But yeah, I'm still really pleased with how it ended up. Yeah. Week 11 was Tower, so I decided this was technically not my first attempt at drawing Victoria Tower in Huddersfield, but yeah, it didn't turn out good. I don't like it at all. Not even the greenery. I was going for a sort of abstract effect that didn't work well, and the tower itself is far too janky. I've done versions of this tower more recently that I much prefer and I'm much happier with. But I learned from this. I had an idea and I went with it. So I can't complain about its existence. Next we have week 12, Elephant. So this is Elma. So it was a children's book that I read a lot when I was younger. It was a little patchwork elephant. And I really like how this turned out. There was a little bit of bleeding, as you can see, and the ink's not exactly perfect in all the places. But I like how it turned out. I loved it. So week 13 was Joy. So this was obviously just after. Well, it would be about a year after How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World came out, and I was obsessed. It broke my heart, that film, in the best way. And I decided for Joy I would try and replicate the joy that you can see when Hiccup and Toothless are reunited, but specifically like with Nothing, his son here, and Pouncer. Like when they do that little interaction when they're flying through the sky, which you can hardly see because you're crying through it. But yeah, and I really like how I did the scales for both dragons on this. I don't do that nowadays, but because it's really time consuming because you can see all the little circles. But yeah, I really like how this turned out, and I think it was quite a popular post as well. It got quite a few likes that year. Week 14 was Green. So I went with the Green Day Heart Grenade. Big fan of Green Day. I went to see them when they came to Huddersfield with Fall Out Boy and Weezer, and absolutely loved it. I got COVID from it, but I absolutely loved it. Yeah, I'm really pleased with how it turned out. As you can see, I sort of had to thin it down a bit as I went over the lines, but I still really like how it turned out. Week 15 was red, so I decided I'd draw Mario. Like, there's some bleeding over the lines, but I'm still fairly happy with how it turned out. It's a very bright shade of red. It's not necessarily red, it's sort of more of a neon red from my perspective. I don't know whether it shows up on camera as such, but yeah, it turned out brilliant. Week 16, blue. I decided to draw Happy from Fairy Tail. Another anime I really like. I was firmly in my anime phase at this point. I suppose 2020 was the year of lockdown, so checks out. I remember staying up all night and going to sleep at like 10 a.m. because I was watching the Phantom Lord arc of Fairy Tail, and yeah, it was brilliant. But this is Happy. He's a flying cat with wings that magically appear, and he's a happy little cat. He's very blue though. So yeah, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I think I used like Stabilo fine liners to colour him in, which I don't usually use, but yeah, turned out pretty good. Week 17, yellow. I had to draw Pikachu. There was no other option, really. I love the little sparks. I like, so I don't know whether any of you are familiar with my characters from a story that I'm currently calling Forbidden Fire, but its name could change. And one of the characters is Kuro Shizen. And he's got these little freckles that have like electric sparks. And I sort of took inspiration from this picture, actually, because I love the little sparks coming off Pikachu's little cheekbones, little cheek puffs. There were some issues with the back and ink bleeding into where it shouldn't, but I really like how it turned out. He almost looks like a shiny Pikachu with the shade of yellow he's ended up being. But I think I was trying to make the electric coming from the cheeks lighten up the face, and yeah, but I really like how it turned out, and I did the signature splatters as they were at one point. I really enjoyed doing the little splatters. Week 18, Train. So this is another from Fairy Tail. I didn't want to draw Train for this, so I decided I would draw Natsu from Fairy Tail, who gets motion sickness. All the Dragon Slayers get motion sickness. It's something within their DNA or whatever. And I thought the idea would be that he's on his way to training on a train and he's just, yeah, not happy. I think it's from one of the like little sort of filler arcs where Lucy, Happy and Wendy, I believe, possibly Carla as well if Wendy was there, they all go on this train and they end up dealing with these guys who basically fought their way to freedom, or try to at the very least. I can't remember what they call them exactly, but yeah, Natsu doesn't like it because he's on a train. Week 19, Praying Mantis. I'm so happy with how this turned out. Like, I'm not really a big fan of praying mantises. I don't really know them very well. I was going to do something Black Clover themed again because there's the green praying mantises in that anime, but I decided I'd just bite the bullet and draw an actual praying mantis. And I actually really like how it turned out. Like, you can see I did the signature splatters again. But I think I made it look kind of cute, which is kind of difficult to do with insects. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. Even now, I'm really happy with how it looks. Week 20 was Bubble. This prompt came out just after the chapter was released where Darby released his identity, which, spoiler alert, was Toya Todoroki. And it got to that point where, at that point, everybody knew he was Toya Todoroki. We were just waiting for official confirmation of it. But I decided to do sort of something inspired by that black speech bubble. And I love how this turned out. Like, you can see I had to sort of do a few patches and there was some bleeding. But I'm really pleased with how it looks. I love the blue flames and stuff, but I'm a big fan of blue flames anyway. But yeah, it came out just after that chapter, and when I saw the prompt, I was like, I have to do the black speech bubble. Week 21 was Robot. I was really uninspired by this prompt. I think I used Stabilo fine liners again. You can see the paper pilling up. I went for a really simple geometric robot. Week 22 was stranded, so I decided I'd do this idea of someone carving help into the sand, you know, like a typical sort of stranded on a desert island thing. But I wanted to make it look like they started the P and just sort of, you know, given up and ended up writing hell nearly. It turned out, I mean, it reads as somebody stranded, so yeah. Week 23, shell. I think I went too hard on or not hard enough on the hatching on this. It would have been better if it was plain or coloured, I think, but yeah, it exists and I learned from what I did. Week 25, lunar. Tried to do like a little moonscape with a little silhouette of a stag, shooting star. I think that was born from a mistake that I sort of adapted into a shooting star. Little flowers that I wanted to sort of do in white, and a tree with some branches going over the moon. And I really like how it turned out, especially like I'm glad I kept it to this little circle space. I've got a thing about doing art in circles, and I have obviously for a while because this is from 2020. Week 24, puppet. This is another anime one. There's a lot of anime in this. This is another My Hero Academia one. So this is a Nomu, which is like, it's said to be like a puppet of a human. So it's someone who's had multiple quirks imbued on them, enforced on them by All For One, who is the villain of the story. And yeah, I decided I needed to do the Nomu as the puppet. But yeah, the brain turned out kind of funky, but I'm still pleased with how it turned out. Again, there's another anime one. Another My Hero Academia one. So when I saw that week 26 was half, I knew I had to do Shoto Todoroki. He's my favourite character from My Hero Academia. And I know I'm not alone in that statement, but he's my favourite. He's a poor little boy with daddy issues and mommy issues. But yeah, I decided I'd try and do like the idea for this was better than the outcome, I think. What I did was I taped down the centre and around the edges. You can see it sort of pilled up the paper a little bit. And I wanted to do his face that was split down the middle because his quirk is half cold, half hot. And so his one side is ice powers and the other side is fire powers. And the idea was that I would split the halves so that you could see it was half and half. I mean, it does read as that, but the idea in my head was better than the outcome. But I'm still pleased with it. Turned out very nice. And like I say, it's my favourite character. Week 27, eyes. At the time, I was really into drawing eyes, so I found this prompt very easy indeed. This was another one where I used to be low fine liners. I was obviously really into them at this point. And I really like how these eyes turned out. I'd already been experimenting with different iris colours and stuff. I knew I liked the black and white version, the grayscale version. I liked the fiery eyes and these ice eyes where they had a white pupil. Really liked for some reason, so I decided I would do some of them as well. Week 28 was wires. And I decided I'd do this circuit where the wires were exposed, sort of. Yeah, it turned out alright. The light bulb's a little bit weird, but it sort of went back to my high school era, where we were doing circuits in physics, and we had a brilliant teacher, and we had the rock and roll voltmeter that went outside the circuit, and various other little bits and bobs that were brilliant. Week 29 was garden. This was better in my head. So this is based on a scene in my garden where we have this, I think it's Spanish lavender, and the bees absolutely love it. So I thought, I'll do a bee on one of the flowers, and I'll do a bee coming in, and then I'll do this sort of like bleedy watercolour effect. It was better in my head. The bleedy watercolour effect just looks really unneat. And this poor bee, I ruined his poor face. I do like the nectar on the leg, the pollen gathered on the legs though. So maybe I'd try doing a bee from this perspective again. I do like how this bee turned out though, although I've since learned that bees actually have 4 wings, so this is inaccurate. But I do really like how these bits of the lavender turned out specifically. So this prompt was Sandy. So week 30 was Sandy. This was one where I didn't write the prompt on it, obviously. And it's a time turner, obviously, from Harry Potter. And I decided to write the words that are around the edge of the time turner, apparently. So it's, I mark the hours, everyone, nor have I yet outrun the sun. My use and value unto you are gauged by what you have to do. And I really like how the actual hourglass bit turned out. The time turner itself is a little bit flat. And I kind of like this bit, but I also had a better idea for what it would look like. But yeah, I do like how it turned out. Week 31, UFO. This is an amphiptère, not a wyvern, not a dragon. It's an amphiptère. That's sort of like a worm with wings, basically. I thought it'd be cool to have these clouds that were sort of, I can't remember what you call them. Are they lenticular clouds, where they look like a UFO, like a typical alien spaceship UFO. Because UFO is unidentified flying object, and not a lot of people have heard of amphiptères. Like, if they saw that, they'd just think dragon. So I thought it would be kind of cool to do it. Week 32 was tail. It's Toothless's tail, obviously. I think this happened after I took a photo of it and posted it. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. How to Train Your Dragon, if you couldn't tell, is one of my favourite franchises of all time. And I really like how Toothless's tail turned out on this picture. Week 33 was Brain. I was going to do Brain from Fairy Tale, but then I thought I'd go with a more abstract representation. So like this, it's supposed to be like about the right and left side of the brain. So the one side is supposed to be really sort of logical and mathematical, and one's supposed to be really creative and out there. So I did like all this colour splash, and then did these sort of wobbly outline in a white pen. Whereas this one I kept very sort of geometric circuits, very sort of measured. I did obviously have to use masking fluid to mask up some sort of mistake / happy accident. Maybe it was bits of this that had sort of bled over to the other side, which I didn't want in this case. But it turned out okay. Week 34, Gauntlet. This is based on my sort of self-insert character in the My Hero Academia universe, who of course was made overpowered and had the ability to control the elements / communicate with nature. And she wears these gloves that sort of allow her to use her powers, but also, you know, look kind of cool, let's be quite honest. I think this was another one that was better in my brain. I sort of thought I'd do the ring of elements, and then the thumbnail's really weird. Don't know what happened there, but not too bad for a hand drawing. This week 35 was Balance, so I did Libra because, you know, I should have done the elements for it, but I'd already done that. This was another one that was better in my head, so I did like a gold sort of hanging balance scales thing, and this was supposed to be representing Libra. And these were supposed to be each of the stars, like some of the stars in the constellation. And this is the planet, I think it's Venus, that represents Libra. There's a lot of ink bleeding and wrong colours, and yeah, it exists though. Week 36, Drill. I decided I'd do a lesser spotted woodpecker. And I was really happy with how this turned out, and really surprised. I recently did a painting of a hoopoe, and for this year's Inktober 52, and I was surprised with how well that turned out. But obviously, I've just got a knack for drawing some birds. Obviously, not all of them all the time. Some of my birds turned out absolutely horrendous, but I was super pleased with how this turned out, and I like that there's just a little splash of colour, and I also really like that it didn't do too much detail on the bark of the tree it's on, because I think that would have taken away from the woodpecker itself. Week 37 was fragile, so I decided to do a moth. So I tried to do some of the patterns that I've seen Mirabila do, and it turned out okay. I don't mind how it looks. I feel like I could do a better job of it nowadays, but I like I say, I'm still very happy with how it turned out. Week 38 was hats, and I decided I'd do mushrooms, because they have little hats. Well, toadstool mushrooms, whatever. Yeah, I like how these turned out. I feel like I've done better mushrooms recently. Like, I did the Fungiri challenge this year back from FIFO, and I love how that one turned out. You can buy a print or a sticker or anything of that piece in my Redbubble shop that's mentioned below and at the end of the video, so please check it out if you can. This prompt was Dungeon. This is another Black Clover, another anime. You can definitely tell I was in my anime phase. This is my favourite character from Black Clover. This is Leopold Vermilion, and he sort of discovers a new part of his power within this dungeon arc that they do. And there's all these like red crystals in the dungeon, and he suddenly sort of makes this realization and powers through and everything. And yeah, it turned out okay. It wasn't exactly what I imagined, but I'm still really pleased with how it turned out. This, I believe, let me just check, was Satellite. Prompt 45, because obviously my Inktober ones aren't in this. Satellite. So I decided to do the moon phases, and I've labelled them. So we've got waning quarter, waning crescent, new, waxing crescent, waxing quarter, waxing gibbous, full, and waning gibbous. And I really like how the planet Earth turned out in this as well. I did like the UK in the middle. It's obviously far bigger than it should be, but yeah, I really like how this turned out even now, and I really want to do another version of this and maybe put it on my Redbubble shop. So we'll see. This prompt, I believe, was Hurt. I'll just double check. I should probably just keep this bit open, to be honest. Yes, Hurt. Week 46 was Hurt. This is another Toyota Orochi one. This was sort of more when I'd sort of started to delve into what my style could look like. This is when he sort of this is supposed to be when he discovers his blue flames and ends up burning his skin and stuff. But I was really pleased with this at the time. I think on my original Redbubble shop I had this up for a while in a digital version, and I was really pleased with it. Week 47 stairs. These are the stairs into Hogwarts. Yeah, I was really pleased with how they turned out at the time. Nothing much to say about that. Week 48. Week 48, Yawn. The idea of this was it's supposed to be like a sleeping potion and like a dreamland type thing. Yeah, turned out okay. I was into drawing potion bottles at the time, so yeah. This prompt was prompt 49 book. This is Asta's 5-leaf clover grimoire and black clover. Yeah, I like how it turned out. But it's rather simple, although that's a bit wonky, but you know, that's just me nitpicking. Next prompt was Yeti. I just chose a random picture I found on the internet and drew it. I wasn't really inspired by this prompt, if you couldn't tell. Next prompt, Trumpet. I wanted to do like an elephant whose trunk evolved into like an actual trumpet. And it turned out alright. I'm pretty happy with it. And prompt 52 was Gift. And most people probably went for like Christmas presents with this prompt. I decided to go the route of the German word Gift, which means poison. So I did ein Geschenk für dich, nur ein Tropfen Gift, which is a present for you, just a drop of poison. Again, poison bottles. I kind of like how it turned out, though. There's some lines that I'm not entirely happy with, but yeah, really like how it turned out. So that was my Inktober 52 2020. I hope you enjoyed this sketchbook tour. Leave a like and subscribe if you feel free. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!